Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue. Live your life, love Christ, do your best to
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue. Live your life, love Christ, do your best to
Speak life.
All right, hello and welcome back to another amazing episode of the Speak Life podcast. We are so excited to have you with us for another wonderful week. I am your host, Minister Phoenix, alongside my beautiful wife and amazing co-host.
Hey, lovely people. Welcome again to another episode of the Speak Life podcast. This is your co-host, the one and only Sheikah. We are glad you're here with us this evening.
Woo.
This evening.
You are excited today, I see.
I am.
There's nothing wrong with that.
The week before vacation.
Week before vacation. So first and foremost, if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, make sure you give us a like. Give us a subscribe. If you're enjoying the content, subscribe to the podcast. We love to have more people joining us for the podcast. Feel free. We love y'all for that. And if you're, one of our faithful listeners who tune in week after week, we appreciate you. I can't stress it enough how much we really do appreciate y'all. We do. We appreciate y'all a lot. Without y'all, there'd be no point in us doing this. It would just be me talking to you, and I'm pretty sure you get tired of just me talking to you. All right. So as you probably have noticed, our episode postings get a little bit delayed a little bit. Podcast, there's a lot that comes with podcasting that, people don't realize, but the one and only is in school. This is going to be one day doctor, the one and only Sheikah, and I'm holding her to that. Like, she's in school, and sometimes getting it out there on a Tuesday is kind of difficult, but we want to stay making sure we dropping content at least once a week. So sometimes you get it a late Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get it an early Wednesday. And sometimes you just find it popping up on a Friday or a Thursday, but we got to make sure we take care of y'all. We don't want a week going by where we're not dropping some sort of new content, to stay on top of it. But we busy. Your boy, girl, we busy, but we still love y'all. We trying, but we got to stay on the content. So in case you're wondering what's going on with the Tuesday drops, that's what's going on with the Tuesday drops.
I'm in school on Tuesday.
It's crazy.
So
it's a lot of crazy. Don't say it's a little crazy, because it's a lot of crazy. But we still dropping it. So today, this day today, we are going to talk about an interesting topic. I always say this is an interesting topic because it is. We be dropping some interesting content. But today we're going to talk about, when is enough? And this is a kind of broad topic, but I think you can apply this really to every part of your life. You can apply this to your job. You can apply this to your relationship. You can apply this to ministry. If you in ministry and you're wondering when is enough, like, this is just an all around when it is time to get to moving. Now, one of the things I want to just start off this conversation with is when you can, or how can you start to recognize when it might be time to excuse yourself from a situation?
This is a tough one, and I really have to think about it, because for me, like, I start realizing when it's starting to be too much for me, in a way where it's just that, like I talk about, I don't like things disturbing my peace. And I feel like when I don't find like a peace of mind anymore doing a particular thing, or when it's really starting to bother me internally, and it's just, I don't know, like, it's making me like not be able to focus, or I have to really think hard, like, wait, what is this? Or what am I doing? Or like, I just don't like what I'm doing. So when I'm at a point where I'm not at peace, I feel like that's when, for me, it's like, enough is enough. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm very patient, and I'm able to sit in things, and let it simmer, and just, hold my ground and let things, happen. But there comes a time when, enough is enough. And I feel like I'm at that in certain situation. I feel like I'm at that point in my life where I'm just like, okay, enough is enough. Lord, what's next?
I think for me, there's always like little clues to let me know like it's coming to that time where I have to back out of things, or where I have to like let go of things, or where I have to move on from things. And one of the biggest things for me where I know like, you know, it's starting to get there is when I start dreading having to do certain things. Like when it starts to like come and you're just sitting there and you're like, do I really have to do this? It's like, that's when it's kind of like, all right, I think it might be time for me to start reevaluating things. Is it my mindset? Is it the situation? Is it what I'm doing? You know, and then one of the things you said that really stuck out to me is like, when you don't find joy in doing something that you used to find joy in doing,
yeah, something.
It may be time to really start thinking about, you know, your choices and what you're doing. And especially if it's something like a job or a ministry or a relationship. If it's something where you feel like it's something you need to enjoy for you to actually be able to do it, once the enjoyment's gone, you may want to rethink it.
Yeah.
And
it's like you need to recharge something.
And that piece is like, and I don't want it to be, you know, making it seem like, you know, you're a hedonistic person, meaning it's only about your enjoyment or things like that. But it's like, there are certain things that you just have to kind of have some sort of emotional investment in to be able to do.
Yep.
Like if I'm going to work every day and every day I wake up and I'm going to this job that I hate, and I mean I don't like it, then I shouldn't be at that job.
No, it's true.
I shouldn't be at that job. I have to have some sort of emotional enjoyment to what I'm doing. It doesn't mean that every day is going to be a bed of roses. It doesn't mean every day is going to be joyful, but I should have some sort of investment in what it is that I'm doing. And that goes for a relationship. If, you know, me and my friend, we used to be cool, and then all of a sudden it's just like, I'm kind of avoiding you because your presence doesn't bring out the best in me. You know, that might be a signal that it may be time to move on from that relationship.
Yeah,
you know, it's not anything. It could be. It really could be anything. But I think for me, there's definitely those little markers that let me know, like, bro, you may need to look at this, you know, in a different perspective, or you may need to reevaluate where you are in this situation. Now, this next one's kind of hard. This next one's kind of hard. I'm gonna be honest, because like looking at this one is one that plays on our minds and inside of us more so than it does on the outside of us. This is more internal.
Am I ready for this one?
This is more an internal. This is an internal reflection question more so than an external observation. Okay. Now, I'm letting you know this is gonna be hard. Does walking away from a situation, does it mean that you're a quitter? Does it mean that you're a failure? Does it mean that you're just giving up? And does it somehow play on your self-worth? I told you it's not easy. This one's a hard one.
I don't think walking away means that you're a quitter or you just want to give up. I think sometimes you have to recognize where you are at that point, and you have to know whether or not walking away is the right thing to do, because sometimes we stay in certain situation and then we're harming ourselves.
Ooh.
And we don't realize it.
That was gold. Say it again for the people. That one was important because I'm going to touch on that.
I feel like, you know, sometimes like walking away is important, like for ourselves, for our own sanity. I feel like walking away at times could be the best thing you ever do. So it depends on where you are at the moment. And it really depends on how you are, like what's your mindset or where you are. What have you been praying about? What have you been really pondering on? So it depends.
This one's a hard one.
It is.
This one's a hard one because I feel like as people, no one wants to feel like they failed at something. No one wants to feel like they gave up on something that they could have possibly been really, really good at, or something that, you know, was something that they feel like they were called to. Mm-hmm. And I think we touched upon this before when we talk about, you know, when you switch up on ministries, where you walk away from certain things. This is hard because there's often times where we will feel like we've given up or we've quit on something mm-hmm. that we may have felt like we were invested in and that we cared about. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a certain amount of wisdom that you have to have when it comes to when it's time to walk away from something mm-hmm. or when mm-hmm. it's time to give up on something. And I think that comes into, you know, recognizing when enough is enough. If you're in something and it's more of a burden than it is a blessing, then that might be a signal that, you know what,
it's time.
It's time. Anything that is going to be damaging to your health and well-being, and that's one thing that I wanted to touch on because you said it, you know, it's like if it becomes a problem and it's causing you mental strain and it's like causing you anxiety, when it starts messing with your physical and your mental state, I think at that point you have to recognize and be like, yo, this ain't good for me. This at this point it's become toxic.
Yeah.
Once it starts messing with my health, it becomes a problem. And if it starts messing with my mental health, it becomes a real big problem. And I think with that, especially when it comes to something like ministry, and I always talk about the ministry context because that's where I see a lot of the work that I do, a lot of things that I do operate and function around ministry. And I think sometimes in ministry, when we see people walk away from certain things, we don't really give the benefit of the doubt on where they are.
Exactly.
And it's like we try to hold people in things because and I always say, you know, there's different seasons for different things. I always look at David. You know, David has his seasons. It's like 1 minute he was a shepherd. Then God moved him from shepherd to being a musician. Then from musician, he moved to armor bearer. Then from armor bearer, he moved to fugitive because he was on the run. He didn't even get to do what he, you know, thought he was going to do. But then through all that and the things that God brought him through, then God moved him into being a king. Mm-hmm. So it's like sometimes, you know, ministry contexts change, and sometimes we have to recognize when our seasons are changing so we don't get stuck in a season where God's like, all right, I think it's time for you to move on. I think it's time for you to, you know, start looking towards other things. And sometimes when people don't recognize the seasons that we're going through, it may appear to them that, you know what, oh, they just quit.
Yeah, because they won't understand where you are.
And that's really what I wanted to jump into the next piece. First, I'll say this. It takes a lot of wisdom to recognize when you can't do something any longer.
Yeah. And for me, honestly, like, if you're at that point where you're saying, okay, you know what? I've come to my breaking point where I can't do this anymore. I think, like you said, it takes wisdom. I think the right thing to do is to acknowledge that and let it be known and move on, because sometimes, you know, we hold up things and we expect that it's still going to go on like when we first started, but we hold up things and it's not going to go on because it's like the drive that you had, it's not there anymore. So I think it's wisdom for people to realize, like, okay, this is not working. My time has come to an end. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to say it out loud. It's okay to let it be known that I can't do this anymore. And honestly, I feel like it's also wisdom for whoever you're talking to actually receive it and understand where you're coming from.
And I think that goes with jobs and relationships and ministries. And you can use that in any situation, in any situation, when you realize, like, listen, like everything, and this is biblical. It says, you know, there's a time and a season for everything under the sun.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be. It's not always gonna be summer. It's not always gonna be winter. But everything runs its course. And when you need to be able to recognize when your situation has run its course.
Yep.
And I think a lot of the problems that we have when it comes to things like this, it's like we're trying to hold on to things that we know mentally the time has run out.
Yeah. And then it's like it's as if you start getting yourself sick. All these health issues start happening because it's like you're holding on to so much within you that you can't even let out. So you have so much inside of you, so much buildup, so much things that you're trying to let go off of, but it's all internal. Like no one else is seeing it except for you. And slowly but surely, it's killing you inside.
That stuff wears on you.
You know,
it really does wear on you. It's like that. It's like a machine. We can only take so much, and then it's wearing on us until eventually we start to break down.
Yeah.
And I think we do ourselves a lot more harm than we do ourselves good when we keep trying to hold on to different things when its season has passed.
Yep.
Now, this one's a tough one. I said the last one was a tough one, but this one is a tough one.
I think it's all tough.
It's tough. This is honestly, this is not an easy topic. This is not an easy topic. So this one refers to the people. This is the people, because it's always, the people are always there. We have our different spheres of influence, the different people we surround ourselves with. So my question is, how do you deal with what people might think or what people might say? You know, is this something that you should take into account before walking away from certain things, whether it be a job, once again, whether it be a ministry, whether it be a relationship? Do the people's opinion have a say or a bearing on when you walk away from certain things?
I think to a certain extent, but I don't think it's that important because, again, your mental health is everything. Your health is everything. Only you know where you're at that moment. But I feel like people's opinion can actually help. Like, because sometimes, we just need guidance. Sometimes we need someone else looking from the outside to look and be like, well, what if you try this way? Or what if you switch something up? Let's see if, that will work. That will give you, a different kind of drive or something like that. So I think it depends on who it's coming from.
Elaborate more on that.
Because
who. Tell us more about the who.
It depends. Like, is this coming from like a mentor? Is this coming from someone who you actually have a high esteem for? Like, who is it coming from? Because you can't just take any and anything from anybody, because some people don't mean you any good. They don't have your well-being in mind. You
can't take anything from anybody.
From any and anybody.
I forgot an any. From any and anybody. I stand corrected.
So you gotta like really understand who is giving the advice. Who are you trying to take these opinion from? Like, you can't. So I think, because I know that for me, if I'm trying to do something and I share it with someone that and most time if I'm going to share it with someone, it's going to be someone who I trust, someone who I look up to, because I don't just go around and share any and anything, with anybody, with certain people. So therefore,
I can't even say that 3 times fast. I've been trying to hold on to it. But
So for me, like, if I'm going to do that, that means that I really hold you at, a high esteem. So that means a lot. So what you're going to tell me, the advice you're going to give me is actually going to mean something. So if you're telling me, if I'm saying, okay, you know what? I think the grass look maybe not greener, but, it looked like it's doing good. And I'm like, I want to go there. And you're like, nope, because I have experience with this before, and I don't think you're going in the right direction if you do that. Then I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to take it. I'm going to think about it. And I'm going to see, like, I'm going to pray about it. And I'm going to see, like, that's how I'm going to determine how I'm going to make my decision for whatever it is. And if I feel strongly about my decision and decide not to take, your opinion, then that's on me. But again, I put myself first. I come first in this situation. Like, how is it on my mental health? How is it on my health? How is it on me being a person in general? So how is it on my happiness? Like, I have to know how it's making me feel, or what I want. Is this what God is telling me to do?
I think this one is hard depending on who you talk to.
Yep.
Because there's a few different ways that I look at this. I look at this from the different ties that people may have. If we're thinking about career wise, and someone wants to, let's say we had this discussion like for our children, for example. Let's say our children want to do something different than what we have envisioned for them. And they're like, you know what? I've been doing this, doing this career because you wanted me to do it, but then I don't want to do it anymore. And then it's like, I want to change. They're at the point where, they're like, this is really to the point where it's bothering me and I don't want to do this anymore. It's like, I want to do something different. But then they're looking at their parents who they admire so much, and they're like, but what are my parents going to think? And I think when I was thinking about this question, I was trying to excuse me. I was looking at the different avenues of influence or the different spheres of influence that people have. Like if you have a child who are really close to their parents and their parents are like, I think you should do this. And they're kind of putting that pressure on them. It's like, but they hate that and they want to do something different. It's like, would that influence them knowing when it's time for them to just be like, you know what, I need to be real with what I'm doing and what I want to do in life. And I know my parents may be upset, but this is what I want to do. I think of people who are like in a ministry context, for example, and it's like, if you're in a certain ministry and you served in a certain ministry, let's say, your parents, were people who were key in building that ministry. And then you get to a point where you're in life and you're like, you know what? I don't feel like this is where I'm called to be. Although you have all of these people who already set the ground and laid the foundation, if God's not calling you to this place and you want to leave, how will the opinions of the people around you, people who've seen you come up, especially like in church, I think about PKs and, ministers' kids and, how it's like they get to a point where it's time for them to make the decision of, is this where I'm going to stay? Is this where I'm going to serve? Is this where God's called me to be? And it's like when they come to that point where it's like, if they feel like God truly has not called them to that ministry or that vineyard, it's like, and they're like, I don't feel like I'm supposed to be here. How does the influence of the people around them, the people that they may have grown up with, maybe it's friends in church that they've come up in ministry with from the time that they were young, how does that influence them and still sitting and serving in these different areas? And I look at that and it's like, even if it's like you're in a friendship that you've been in for, and this one was hard for me because when I got saved, and I talk about this a lot, especially in the book, if you haven't gotten the book, man, stop playing and just go and get this book, When Three Roads Collide. It'll change your life. But I talk about this in the book. It's like when I got saved, it was like, the people who were with me when I was going through my mess and some of the darkest times in my life, when it came time for me to really go and follow God, it was like, now I had to deal with, what are my friends going to say? Well, these are people who was with me when I was at the lowest point of my life. It's like, how is what they think going to influence this decision that I'm making to know that this life that I'm living, it's like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I look at it, even with your situation, I look at it and you see where you're like, enough is enough. You made up your mind that, no, I'm going to follow Christ. This is the direction I'm going to go in. And it didn't matter what they say at the time. Like, it didn't matter what they say. Like, you didn't say, oh, well, you know what? You're my ride or die. And that's like, you don't want me to give my life to Christ, so therefore I'm not going to do it. You're like, no. I know you don't want me to give my life to Christ because you're like, if there's a God, then would he allow all these things to happen to us, right? But you made up in your mind that, nope, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give my life to Christ because this is where I'm at right now. This is the season that I'm in. I'm in a different season where I realize that there's a greater power. I realize that there is someone looking out for me. And it ain't my mother, it ain't my father, it ain't my sibling. Like, there is someone higher looking out for me. So therefore, I made up in my mind that enough is enough with the street life. Enough is enough with everything that I was doing. And I'm going to turn the other way.
But what about the people who struggle with that? And that's the piece that I want to do. What do we tell the people who are in this situation but don't know how to navigate that? Where they're like, you know what, I really want to, do what's right. I really want to live my life a certain way. I really want to, get to a point where even in a relationship where it's like, I'm trying to follow Christ, my boyfriend and my girlfriend isn't. And it's like, I'm trying to get them to follow Christ because I'm trying to follow Christ. And they're like, but, what are they going to say, when I'm trying to get them to, be on this right track, and they don't have that strength to be able to say, you know what, I don't know. As for me in my house, we gonna serve the Lord,
I don't know. I feel like in that case, I feel like they probably haven't reached to that extended point where they could say, like, enough is enough.
I think it's a breaking point.
They haven't reached that. That's the word I was pushing.
I really do think there's a breaking point.
Breaking point where they're like, okay, you know what? This is it.
That's where they talk about the straw that broke the camel's back. Mm-hmm. It's like that, and it doesn't even have to be something big. But I think we all have to reach that breaking point where we just get, as you say, we get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Where we're like, you know what? Like, yo, I just really, and for me, it was just like this point where it was like, yo, I just can't do this anymore.
Like,
and it's like, it'll be work. It could be anything. You just get to this point where you're like, yo, I just can't do this anymore. Like, I need something different. I need a different situation. I need a different, when I wake up in the morning and I'm going to work, I need to be going to a different place. I can't stand this. Like, you literally get sick of it where you're like, yo, I can't do this anymore.
And most times, honestly, like, this decision that you have to make, it's not easy. I don't care how the situation may look. I feel like it's never going to be an easy decision to make, especially if it's something that you're like thinking like, what is this one going to think? What is that one going to think? What is this one going to say? It's never going to be an easy situation. I feel like for everybody, they're going to have their own different struggle as to how things are going to look or what they're going to be struggling with as far as to make the decision that they need to make. So in that sense, I'm like, you just got to know when enough is enough, and you just got to do it. You got to make the decision. Like, you got to make the decision based on what's right for you. And at this point, it boils down to you. Like, you, nobody else but you. But like, this is a time when you're going to have to be selfish. And it's about me. What am I going through? How is this situation making me feel? Is it doing me good, or is it hurting me? And it may be hurting you in a way where you're like, oh, other people can't see it, but you can feel it. When you're not around people, you can feel it. The people who you're concerned about, wondering, okay, what are they going to think? When you're not around them, they're not seeing what you're seeing. They're not seeing what you're dealing with. Only you.
And I think with that's like a big piece, because we go through life so often trying to do things to please other people. Oh my goodness. And then at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we the ones who got to sit with the decisions that we make.
Yeah, and we're the one who is suffering from the decision that we make. And at the end of the day, you know, you will have people who celebrate with you in the moment because of your decision, but then the long term, who is suffering?
That's true.
So I think it's really important to put yourself, I'm not saying just to always be selfish and just put yourself first, but in certain situations, you really have to think about you. You come first.
That's true. I think that's a big thing. All right, so I don't want to take up too much more time with this. This is one of those topics where we're gonna leave our listeners just kind of reflecting.
Soak it in.
Yeah,
yes.
you really gonna have to reflect.
Because I was sitting here and I was like, oh Lord, I just wanted to like,
yeah, you really do. Like, this is one of those you listen to it and you just kind of reflect and you be like, wow, like, yo, I need to figure out what's working for me. If we could leave them with some last moment advice, you know, what are some tips we can leave with our listeners who might be struggling with a situation that, you know, they're feeling like it might be time to walk away from, you know, whatever the case may be, you know, what's something we could drop with them and leave them to think about, because after they stop this one, they're gonna be like, whew, I gotta sit back and think about this for a bit. You know, what's something we can leave with them? Like, if I'm someone who's like, you know what, I think it might be time for me to leave this situation. I'm not sure, or, you know, I know it's time for me to leave this situation. I'm not really sure the steps that I should take or what I should do. What's some advice we can leave them? Let's leave them with something good.
I feel like at the end of the day,
although the whole episode is good,
you just have to remember that you are the one who is gonna suffer with whatever decision you make, or you are the one who is gonna left with the decision, thinking about it.
Yeah, you got to deal with it.
You know, you have to.
You're
deal
the one
with,
who got to deal.
Yeah,
with it.
you have to deal with it. So, therefore, if you're not happy with the decision that you make, you're only hurting yourself. So, think about it. Don't just make a rash decision quick. And, you know, just think about it. Soak it in. Write it down. I always like to write things down because then I could go back and look at it. And I try not to just react in the moment. So write it down. Think about it. Go back tomorrow. Look back at it. Or think back on whatever decision that you're trying to make the next day. Give it a week. Pick it up again. You know, different times of the day, just reflect on it and just see how you feel. You know, give it a month. Like, just try. Don't just so quick to like make the decision. Like, give it a while. You know, and if you're a Christian, you know, pray on it.
Pray on it.
And if you're not a Christian, pray. Like, before I got saved, I used to pray. You know, and I used to be like, God, I don't even know if I'm praying right, but clearly he heard me because my prayers were answered. So, you know, pray on it. And, you know, again, find someone you trust and run it by them and see what they say. And you don't have to take everything they say, but, you know, it probably could give you like a better,
some insight
as to what you really want to do. So I feel like it's always good to take your time. Don't just rush to make the decision, because then you could actually rush yourself into making a mistake. So we don't want that to happen.
I got a few things for this that like kind of stick in my head. You know, one of the things that I would say is what I'm realizing is that no one really knows what's best for you like you do.
Yep.
Because sometimes people will look at what they perceive to be in your best interest, but you're not them. You're not them. So you really have to take time to understand what's best for you. I think that's very, very, very important. When making like serious decisions, I always like to bounce thoughts off of people's head. I have some really trustworthy people that I will talk to about things just to pick their thoughts. But at the end of the day, as you said, you have to make that decision. You have to decide what's best for you, because I could talk to you and you could tell me how you feel about a situation and you could tell me what you think about a situation. But at the end of the day, I know what's going to be best for me. And I could hear thoughts. And like I said, I have people that always bounce, thoughts off of just because sometimes it helps to get a different perspective on things. So if you have people you can bounce your thoughts off of, I would say talk to your people, man. If you got genuine people who aren't going to lead you wrong, but they always have your best intention at heart, talk to your people. Like, prayer is amazing. I like to meditate on things. The way I pray and like really, touch God is different from how some people pray. Sometimes I write and I just sit and I just think on it, and I'm like, God, what's up? Like, yo, what do you want me to do in this situation? This is how I'm feeling about this. I don't know what to do. I need you to talk to your boy. Help me out. You know. And one thing that I've learned is that God will answer you sometimes in ways that you don't expect. It may not necessarily be him giving you an answer, but sometimes he will confirm things through people, especially people that you trust. Sometimes you will be praying and you'll go and talk to someone and be like, yo, this is what I'm thinking about this. This is how I'm feeling about this. And they'll give you an answer. And that answer will be something that you already had on your heart to actually go with. Yeah. So, sometimes God will use the people closest to you to really give you answers that you really need. And if I could say one last piece on the advice piece is, don't be afraid to make decisions that are going to help you be whole. And what I mean by that is this. Sometimes, and we talked about this in our complacency episode, sometimes we will get comfortable in dysfunction. And because we're used to a situation being jacked up, we think that being jacked up is normal.
Yeah, when it's not.
So what I mean is, sometimes taking steps that are new, sometimes taking steps that are difficult is sometimes very difficult, is very scary. But when we take those steps, it'll help us to be in a better place mentally, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally. Don't be afraid to take a step that's going to get you out of a system of dysfunction and bring you into a system that's normal, that's healthy. And I think, when it comes to moving into unknown situations or moving out of our comfort zones, we kind of shy away from that and we kind of run away from that because it's not what we're used to. Yeah. So don't be afraid to take steps to make yourself whole. Don't be afraid to take steps that's going to bring you that peace of mind, that's going to bring you, back to that normal health. Yeah.
And when you were talking, the thing that came to thought is that don't be afraid to take risk.
Healthy risks. Healthy risks.
Don't be afraid. And I mean, sometimes people may not know if it's healthy or unhealthy, but I feel like taking that risk, you also learn from it. If it's something that's not good for you, you learn from your mistake and you'll know what not to do the next time. But like me, I don't like to take risks, and that's why I said that, because sometimes I feel like I hold myself back in a lot of things because I'm so I like the
safety.
I don't want to say complacent.
Safety.
I like
safety. You like safety. Everyone likes to be safe.
It's a lot for me to think about taking risks, but I feel like I'm at that point in my life where I'm like, you know what, Lord, I'm gonna make that move. And I'm gonna take that step because at the end of the day, I know you're gonna be with me. But it's something where I'm not just going to get up and do it, but it's something that I have to pray about and keep on praying about and see if, what God is saying to me.
He'll give you the insight, man. And I think that's one of the most underrated things out there is the power of really praying and putting things before God and just be like, yo, God, if this is what it's supposed to be, man, just let me know. And he'll let you know. And one of the things that I think, you know, we don't do enough of is like just waiting, and when God says move, to move.
Yeah. And I know, like, sometimes, you know, in the waiting time, like for me, I'm in this situation where it may seem like I'm indecisive, because I'm like flipping back and forth, where I'm like, okay, Lord, my first initial thought is that I should do this. And then I'm like, you know, like someone say something, and I'm like, you know what, that makes sense. You know what, I should do this then. And it's like, but then I always go back to my first initial thought, like, this is what you should be doing. This is what you should be doing. And where I'm trying to get to, everything that I'm trying to do is not working out. But then it seemed like I always
causes you to circle back.
Circle right back around and go back to and I'm like, you know
the circle
what?
back be real. The circle
And
back be
I'm
real.
like, okay, I just waste all this time emailing people, doing this, doing that, calling, getting frustrated because things are not working out. It's just not happening how I want it to happen, just to end up back right where I started.
No, but sometimes that's
You
what it
know?
takes.
So
Sometimes that's really what it takes.
and you got to understand that, you know what, in that situation for me, who, you know, I'm like, God, okay, heard you loud and clear. I understand. This is not what you want me to do. You want me to do this. So.
All right. Well, that was good. All right, wonderful people. We enjoy having you with us. Don't forget, death and life are in the power of the tongue. So make sure you speak life. We love y'all. If y'all haven't gotten the book, go get the book. Stop playing.
Yes.
I can't stress this enough. When three roads collide. If you want to stay on top of everything that we're doing, go to threeroadscollide.com. That's the official website of your boy and the true one and only. So we love you guys. Have a great week, and God bless you.
God bless you.